because when you do review the documents, you see the timeline that I mentioned before the pause, even though we went over 5 minutes, that is back and forth. And then when you go in further detail, you understand that even actually from the first time that we came here in the meeting, the first round of this meeting that was started, certain comments were mentioned in terms of communication, because I'm trying to gauge my approach to this around communication and get to the two big topics that I got out of this meeting that need to be handled. From the first meeting, you understand that communication wants to be done across the board in terms of with all of the unions. And I'm gonna look at the unions now, Mr. Pontefet and his team, to make sure that I'm writing down the correct information, or I'm stating the correct information. So if communication across the board has to be done with all groups, that means it would be in ANAPB, WICSU, B2, and ABVO. Is that correct? So that means four unions would have to be expected to come together to meet with a minister. Now, I'm pointing this out so that we can get to the nitty-gritty of why communication is very important for us to resolve this.
Just to clarify, I think it's 3 and not 4.
Sorry.
Yeah?
Did I? So which 3 actually? Well, you can correct it for me after, just so that we understand 3. Whether it's 2 or 3 or 4, Madam Chair Lady, communication, when you start including a lot of groups, it gets very hard to handle for minutes. So I wanted to state that from my perspective, that communication one-on-one might actually work to resolve the issues that I see here upon this meeting today. Prior to the break, I said, you know, I want to get to what the nitty-gritty problem is here, because for me, initially, what I saw as the problem was the focus on the insurance, which I think that the justice workers should be entitled to and have a choice to have it, right? And then the conversation went from the first meeting into this meeting, where there was an alternative provided, but I am not, quite frankly, I'm not satisfied with the alternative provided because I don't understand what it was. And it was some health.
Smarter health.
Smarter health. I don't understand what that is. I understand when you have a company like the one that was presented, covering them beforehand, Magico. I understand how that policy works. I don't know what the other concept is, and I have no shame saying that right here. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it works. That has not been provided to me. That was the big issue number 1 that I took from the first meeting and continuing into this meeting. Big issue number 2 was the LBs, the continuation of the LBs. You look at the correspondence, you see that there's continuous correspondence from since November 2024, talking about batch 13, where are we with batch 13? So just for context of everyone that is in this meeting hall and those that are tuned into this, when you look at a time lag from November that they're communicating to today, which is September, I believe, 16, since all my days are blurred and I work every day, September 16, we're almost a year later. So you can understand now when communication is broken down, but we're talking now almost 10 months later, communication is going to, basically, the lack of communication or no moving forward will deteriorate any relationship even more, even though both sides might be working, but we don't know, because based on the communication that we are getting in this from the side of the union, it looks like it's not working. Communication is not working. So, right, again, I go back to the point of, well, what is the big issue here? I'm looking at what do you want me as an MP here to do today? How can I help you all resolve this? Because while I'm not a mediator to this situation, I know what I can do as a member of parliament. I can write letters to the ministers inquiring why this isn't done. We can call for OVAs. We can call for our meeting, the 1-hour meeting with them where we give the questions in advance. But is that going to resolve an issue that we see ongoing from November 24th? So all I'm asking is that everybody gets on the same page right now, where how is it that this is going all over the place? Something is not working.
When I look at the email and the correspondence, nobody could tell me here that there's no willingness from the unions to get things in order. Nobody can tell me that. And I am going to go through it because I think it is a shame that every time we're going back to the same problem, the same confusion, which is literally the lack of respect from the government to the union and the representatives, And then we are asking in Parliament what we could do. Well, I know what I could do. And I know that writing letters don't make no sense at all. On the 28th, a letter was sent asking for an introduction, asking for a meeting. For those that didn't read it, was that ever held? That is a question. On the 19th of December, 2024, an update was asked on batch 12. Confirmation was given by the cabinet that it is ready on the 19th. Thanks was sent, good correspondence. A week time is okay. Press release, February, because between December and February, no more batches came out. So a press release came out that the unions are not satisfied with the manner and the pace that they are coming out. In emails, on the 4th of March, CCSU requested a meeting with the minister. On the 20th of March, so between the 4th and the 20th of March, between the 4th and the 20th of March, you receive an email canceling a meeting. On the 25th of March, you send another concerning the salary of the immigration officers, that they did not receive their salaries. On the 25th of March, requesting a meeting for immigration officers. You get an email back that same day, canceling a meeting. On the 15th of May, you come out with a press release. On the 16th of May, that is answered.
And I also like to ask, thank the previous speaker, because in case my question was not correctly understood, exactly the rundown what the previous speaker, MP La Cruz, just elaborated on was the crux of what I was trying to understand. Because as MP La Cruz stated, I'm one of those that didn't see the correspondences, because as he said, Parliament got it on Sunday, it was sent to us at 11:30, the meeting was 2 o'clock. Those of us who weren't on our phones at the period of time didn't see it. So that's why I followed up with asking, are there exact emails requesting or attempting for meetings or communication with the minister? And that answer I finally got just now. Madam Chair, I would like to just address one thing, because I see it's a reoccurring trend when parties come to Parliament requesting help in any way, sort, form, or fashion. In the previous meeting with the fire and ambulance, it was stated that Parliament can't do anything. And in this one, it was alluded to that Parliament cannot be mediators. But I would like to just remind all my colleagues that we are here to serve the people in any way, shape, or fashion that we can. And if they don't know what they want exactly from us, it's our job to figure out how we can help them. And this is one of those situations where, as my colleague just stated, once we have the story from both sides, we will know how to proceed. And it's fair enough to say we have the story on the side of the unions. I am, to be politically correct, a bit flabbergasted by the alleged comment that a meeting once a month would be a bit ambitious, seeing the the seriousness of the topics being discussed, being insurance, LBAs, etc. And I would like to know and understand from the minister what, moving forward, is the intention as it pertains to communication with the unions. That being said, I still, even though there's a trail of emails, I would like to impart on the union to not to stop sending them, right? Because at the end of the day, you can only do what you can do. And for the rest, it's up to the minister and up to Parliament to see what Parliament can do in order to aid that endeavor.
Chapter 11 in the Rules of Order, is very clear. The right of initiative, the right of interpellation, the right to ask questions. Madam Chair, let's be real and call a spade a spade. The language that the union is talking is not foreign. It's very familiar to me with this government in particular. Because if they don't answer us as members of parliament, the proof is in the pudding, Madam Chair. So therefore, we can do a lot. As we are here in the Justice Committee, we could call one General Affairs, we could call a CCOV, all these type of things, motions, law amendments, budget amendments, in order to see that the union can have an easier road to get the job done for their members. Madam Chair, they are not here on their own strength. They are here to represent their members, who all of us will go knocking by and campaigning by. So it's foreign to me sometimes when I hear certain instances what we can and cannot do, because we just get very creative around election time and make everything happen. So therefore, enough with the fun and games, enough with the promises, let us give real results. And that is the reason why. That is the reason why I asked for clarity on certain things, and I know that some things were discussed offline, but I want my online questions answered, because same way so, union members send me questions, and they also seek clarity, because right now you're putting the union leaders in tight positions where sometimes in certain instances the members feel underrepresented, but they don't have all the specific details. So yes, we're mediators, we're people persons, we're everything that we need to be, because at the end of the day, we are not here on our own strength, we are here based on the strength of the people. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, the reason that we received the documents is not that the unions wanted to send it for fun. I specifically asked for proof of correspondence. Reason being, I did not want to just come here and point fingers and bash the minister. So I asked specific questions. Did you provide any insight? Did you, through you, Madam Chair, the unions come with suggestions? Did you, the unions, suggested to meet? And what baffles me is that the Minister of Justice is telling the unions of justice once a month is too ambitious. Let it sink in. And then I hear my colleague ask about the different three unions, and I want to make it clear that according to the union, the minister said she does not want to meet one-on-one basis and prefers to meet with everyone. So it was suggested then that the full CCSU, is present. That's the minister's suggestion. And then my colleague stated right here that there might be some email threads missing. I find it very, very, very 99.2% doubtful. Because when you have a minister, as my colleague stated, that don't answer members of parliament, don't even answer their own coalition member, don't even answer the chairlady of the Justice Committee, and can tell an MP to go seek answers from their connections in the prison, no respect, utter disrespect. So I can believe that the minister laughed in your face. I can believe that you are feeling disrespected. And the word disrespect is a word that I've seen across the various unions so far. Fire department, ambulance departments. I specifically asked because I wanted to know when I open my mouth, we have factual documents attached to it. I asked about the LBAs and the processes and are you satisfied, and you said no. There's also email threads where you are not satisfied. There was an article recently that says if you cannot handle the position, give it up. And I stand by that article. The Justice Union are here today in Parliament because they cannot get communication with the Minister of Justice. And then when we speak about crime and different aspects, and I said it, after 10 months, we have yet to have a clear plan of approach to tackle crime. But how? When we can't even sit with the people that are supposed to tackle the crime.
Asset V insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? Asset V is cardless. Request your My Asset V account today and enter the virtual office of Asset V. Go to assetv.sx and sign up now.
Your social health insurances.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
So the project Fostering Collaborative Approaches to Disaster Preparedness in the Caribbean is really rooted in the cooperation agreement that was signed between IOM and SEDIMA back in 2022 via a memorandum of understanding to really emphasize that human mobility and displacement be integrated into disaster preparedness throughout the region. So as a result, the main objective of this project is to strengthen human mobility frameworks and build the institutional capacity to address disaster displacement in the Caribbean. The project is funded by the European Union, DG ECHO, at a total value of 1.07 million euros, which equates to approximately 1.26 million US dollars. The timeline is set to run until the end of March in 2027. Now, on the right-hand side, you can see the map of the 13 SEDIMA participating states that are covered under this initiative. So in alphabetical order, these are Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago. The project is divided into 4 results. So going one by one, the first one is looking at displacement in national action plans and cross-border evacuation protocols. Result 2 focuses on displacement data collection, analysis, and management for comprehensive disaster management. And result 3 focuses on the shelter sector capacity building and the supply chain for non-food items, or NFIs, as we have been referring to them. Now, result 4 is placed at the bottom here because it is a crisis modifier. So it will only be activated in case of emergencies. And I will dive into that at a later stage. So again, one by one to go through the activities and types of outputs that we're looking at for each result. The first will be that CARICOM supports the integration of displacement and human mobility into disaster management, which includes cross-border protection and evacuation protocols. This will be firstly done by developing action plans that integrate human mobility into CARICOM's comprehensive disaster management programs and national disaster plans. Secondly, we will implement the IOM's Environmental Migration and Disaster Displacement Assessment Tool with interested CARICOM countries. This has also been done under a previous initiative in the Caribbean, so it will be a continuation of this work. Thirdly, we will develop cross-border evacuation protocols in 2 SEDIMA member states. And finally, this protocol will then be promoted through a regional tabletop exercise to bring forward the adoption of these evacuation protocols. Now, the second result focuses on Caribbean countries being better equipped to address and mitigate displacement through evidence-based planning supported by robust data. So the first activity or output of this result will be to develop a regional standard operating procedure for displacement data together with NDOs, SEDIMA, and also convening some international expertise on displacement data through the Internal Displacement Monitoring Center, referred to as IDMC, who also brings experience from the small island developing states contexts in the Pacific that we aim to tailor to the context in the Caribbean. So as a result of these SOPs, we will also deliver some context-specific capacity building sessions to align with National Disaster Office needs in order to sustain the use of this standard operating procedure on displacement data collection and management.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, comm programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
As I already explained, the way courts are looking at international human rights and assessing in the context of a specific court case whether the provisions of the International Human Rights Treaty are binding on all persons, and that in practice so far they have applied them very scarcely in a direct manner. And I think in our assessment this is due to the general wording of the provisions of the covenant that refers in general terms to social goals that impose on state parties, so on us, the obligation to implement them in our national legislation, rather than an obligation to confer rights directly on individuals they can invoke in a court of law. This is, in our understanding, because these rights have a more programmatic character and they necessitate legislative and other implementing measures by the legislator, and this also generally requires a political decision about the exact way how to do that, the resources to be addressed to that. So it doesn't mean that they are not respected, but it means that they are implemented in a way as a fundamental element of our national legislative process. I would invite my colleague of the Ministry of the Interior to later on in her intervention to briefly explain to you how this works in a practical manner when we are drafting national legislation. So perhaps that might clarify the way we are actually respecting these rights in our national system. You have also raised, Madam Chair, as the rapporteur before you, the question of the optional protocol. I would say, as I explained in my first answer, that we've been looking again at the optional protocols, and we have decided now to move forward with, in particular, optional protocol on disability. The brief, my brief rephrase of the whole title of the protocol, since that is very directly applicable and also really closely relates to a new action program we're implementing right now. And we want to learn from that process, and I cannot prejudge now what future governments will decide on the basis of the experiences we will be learning in the context of the application of that protocol. But to clarify a bit the background of our reasoning, we have asked in 2022, several ministers have asked the Dutch Council of State to advise on the consequences of ratifying the 3 optional protocols, and thereby considering the nature and content of the protocols, the degree of ratification, and also the views submitted by European bodies and international organizations, including, of course, your distinguished committee. And I think the advice of the Council of State was thorough and diverse, but on that basis, the government has determined that the broad scope of the covenant makes it difficult and to in advance understand the consequences of ratifying it. And I would say that also relates to my first answer on the way we are implementing at the moment the rights under the covenant in our national domestic system, as I explained, through embodying them to really bringing them to the heart of our legislative process. But that is a different system than when you would organize a system where they would be directly invoked in a court of law. So that would really change that system, and for the moment the government has decided that it's difficult to understand what consequences that would bear, and therefore we have decided that we would start this process and focus on the more, I would say, focused protocol, if that, I don't know if that's a correct wording, but of the on the disability covenant. So I hope that answers your questions. I know maybe not on substance to what you would like to hear, but at least this is the reasoning that our government has taken on board.